Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be introducing you to my Panda palette for 2023. As a lot of you probably know, I did put out a video a little over a month ago to ask you guys what palette you guys thought that I should be focusing on. I've tried to tally all the votes and numbers and feedbacks that I've gotten. It was interesting to read through because I feel like a lot of you guys know me so well by now that you guys were like, well, I would do this, but that. Or like, this might be a nice palette, but you like warmer tones. Or like, this could be nice, but you're also still working on that, and that. So it's great to see how much you guys are like actually involved with everything going on and actually remember, because I know I have trouble sometimes keeping track of like the multiple patterns that I follow and then trying to figure out like what they were working on exactly again, because we're all doing a fair bit of projects. But yeah, I've tried to tally based on the like buts and maybes and everything, kind of like read through that, looking at all the thumbs ups that the comments got as well, because to me that might be somebody that didn't feel like writing a whole new comment, but were just like, okay, I agree with this, so no need for me to write a whole comment. So I've included the thumbs up in my tallies a little bit as well. Sometimes when people said or I try to go like, okay, have a point for this one and have a point for that one. So yes, let's talk through like you guys' votes, because I always think it's kind of funny to see what people thought or didn't think. I guess I can start off with these two Catrice quads. I don't know whether it is because like these weren't part of my collection yet and you guys are not as invested in these palettes yet, but these did not get a lot of votes. The coral version, which opened up the right one straight away. This one got around 6 votes, looking at like the thumbs ups for the comments as well, which wasn't a whole lot. But everybody made good like comments as to why a certain palette should go in, so that even made me think like, ooh, the one that I'm gravitating towards, is that even the best one to roll in as well? This one got 14 votes. You guys did like the greens, or at least some of you. And then we had the duo and the single in here as well. And I think a lot of you guys were like, okay, Linda, you've got plenty going on still with the palettes that you're working on, so don't take on too much and maybe go for either the single or the duo. But the single is quite big. You guys said the same thing. So maybe it's not that easy to focus on. It's not that easy to multitask. Same with the duo. Some of you guys were like, well, it's just two quite big shades. Some of you guys called this one dark as well. To me, it's a fairly like medium-ish shade, but I think that just kind of depends on what you think is dark. And of course you guys only saw it in the pen, I didn't actually swatch anything, so that is that shade right there. To me that is like a fair crease shade without it being too dark, but I guess it's also what you're used to wearing or what your preferences are. So yeah, a good bit of comments about these ones, possibly even mixing these up together with like one of the other palettes that we've been looking at. But in the end, and I'm kind of happy with this because this was where I gravitated towards the most as well, but at the same time I want to make sure that I do what you guys want to see as well. We have a winner, and this might not come as a huge surprise to a lot of you guys, but it's the Catrice The Seasons Must Have palette. It's a 4-pan palette, so it isn't crazy big, but at the same time these pans are not small by any means either. The one that I think I will have the most trouble with finishing off might be the gray one. It's a really easy one to incorporate in my looks, I think, because it's like, it's muted enough, it's not too dark, but there just is a lot in this pan. The champagne shade I can use as a brow bone highlight, as a inner corner highlight, as a lid shade. Plenty of ways for me to use that one, so I'm not too worried about that one. The turquoise shade, I've already got an okay amount of pan on, and I think I can like either layer this with other things, put it on my lid, put something shimmery on top of it if I feel like not going too matte. It can be a transition shade as well, depending on what's on my lids. So nice bit of usage for this one. And then the only one that doesn't have pan yet is the darkest shade in here as well. And that is a scary enough one as well, but at the same time, I'm not too intimidated by that shade because I think it might even be my most favorite shade in this palette. It just hasn't rolled into a project. So yeah, let's actually go through them and like talk a little bit more about them, because now I just mentioned every shade, but I want to make sure I can do the swatches alongside talking through what type of shade we have. So the first shade in the palette is this shade, which is kind of like a, I always forget how to call this, because like burgundy and eggplant, I think it's more eggplant because it's more like a purple, like reddish dark shade. Is eggplant the right like way to like call this? I don't know. But yeah, it has a purple undertone to it, but it's a dark shade at the same time. I'll be doing close-up swatches so you guys can have a closer look at that shade as well. It's a bit more warm tone, which makes it a little strange in this palette in a way, although the champagne shade is somewhere in between like warm tone and cool tone, depending on how the light hits it, I feel like. But yeah, it's definitely the warmest shade to me in this palette, and it's a shade that I really like, so I'm not too worried about that one. Then we've got the matte gray shade. There are the tiniest bits of like glitter in there as well, or shimmer or whatever you want to call it, but once it's on the lid, it is pretty much a matte shade. It's a very easy like transition shade for me, so I know I will be able to wear it a lot. I know I'm going to be pretty excited to have a matte shade that I can wear as a crease shade or transition shade, because last year everything in my palette was shimmery shades, so that one will be nice for a change, to like really be able to do things in like the right way and have a matte in my crease instead of a shimmer. Then the champagne shade, definitely the one that I've used the most. I could even multitask that one as a highlighter. The pan is definitely big enough for me to easily like try and use that as well. As a highlight, I won't be having to like work around other shades and try not to actually accidentally grasp them. But I think if I keep using that one as like a lid, inner corner, and mainly brow bone shade, probably I will make some really nice progress on that, and that might be gone like somewhere halfway through the year already. And then we've got the turquoise, like foamy green shade. It's a cooler shade, not my favorite type of shade maybe, but since I already have pan in it, it's a matte, it can work as a transition shade, and I can still do other fun stuff on my lids. Like I said, maybe I can layer it with other things and I can make it a bit more warm toned, or I can make it a bit more interesting using certain pigments or other types of shades. Of course, I'm going to do my pen as eyeshadow, so I can play around with this enough. But at the same time, I'm not overwhelmed by 10 new shades that I'm bringing in and trying to do a lot of other things at the same time. I can just focus on 4 shades, plus whatever is left in my actual pen palette from this year. But I will show you guys the finale in about a week. So yes, that is this palette. Now let me take a quick look at what the final votes were. So the duo got a voting count of 30. The single had 34 votes, but everything counted up together, the Catrice palette came at 68, which definitely shows that the Catrice one is the big winner here. And my single came in second place, closely followed by the duo. So I do want to try if I can maybe throw this into a project or something to make some nice progress on it, because maybe I can join it into a project next year. Because it's just too intimidating, and I've tried to throw this in so many projects and I haven't really succeeded yet, but there has to be a way for me to be able to merge it in. Like color palette wise, it works. So it will not interfere with my pen palette stuff this year as a purple. So that could be interesting. Now, one thing that some of you guys might be curious about as well, we have the blush palette that I could possibly be working on as well. This one got 55 votes. Of course, this was kind of like a separate talking track. It's not that I was going to do the blushes and not do an eyeshadow palette, because that is not like my pen palette. My real pen palette will always be eyeshadows. But I thought it would be fun to merge this in one way or another. I got so many ideas and suggestions from you guys on how I could make this work without it becoming too overwhelming, especially assuming I'm not going to finish all of these in a year's time anyway. So thank you guys for that. That was like really nice to read through and gave me some inspiration of how I could possibly work on this. What I have decided, and a lot of you guys said that as well, like you're still working on a lot of other blushes. So I've taken that into consideration as well, and what I've decided to do is I won't be rolling this in straight away. I do like really want to full on focus on the blush that's still in my 2022 Pendant palette. I want to get that out. I know I've got my Revlon blush as well that I've been trying to work on for a while, never really got to, but to be honest, I'm just a little bit done with trying to focus on that one. Like the pinkishness doesn't always work with what I like to wear either. So I've decided that at least for the upcoming year, I'm going to put that to the side and not worry about that one, because it's always that thing that's kind of like hanging in the back and that I'm not getting to in the way that I want to. So we're just going to not even worry about that for a year. Once I finish off the blush in my Pendant palette, or maybe when I'm really close, kind of have to decide how I feel, I will roll this into my Pendant palette and I will start working on something in here. Different suggestions have been made, like either pick a warm and a cool tone, then work on both of them until you come up with something else. The Pendant eyeshadows type of thing, where you randomly roll in a blush and start working on it. The idea that you just start, like go column by column. I think there were more suggestions, but like all these things are definitely things worth considering. What I definitely want to make sure I don't do is that I'm working on this like reddish shade in the middle of summer, because this is dark. Like I have a light skin tone, so for me this is definitely a dark shade. So the only time I see that working, weird as it may sound, is when my skin tone is at the lightest and it's cold outside, and it's a really like I just came out of the freezing cold type of shade on my cheeks. A lot of these other things are gonna work out like fine enough. I've already kind of finished off the more corally shades in here, which clearly shows that that is what I gravitate towards the most. So yeah, I will probably talk about that a good bit more when I will officially be rolling that one in. It's not gonna go in now. No idea when it will, because that Pendant palette blush is just lasting forever, even though it's powdery. But yeah, that is it. My Pendant palette for 2023 is the Catrice The Seasons Must Have palette. And I will be working on this alongside my Pendant palette, which I've been making some pretty nice progress on. So I'm looking forward to showing you guys how I did on that one in a week from now. Still got a couple more days to work on it until we're in the new year, because I'm filming this on Christmas Day. And it's hopefully going up in like 30 minutes or something after me filming this. So yes, thank you very much for being so involved in helping me pick what I'm going to be working on, even considering things that I didn't properly suggest in here, because you guys did talk about my yellow gold pigments, some of you as well, which yes, I definitely want to make some progress on. But again, no yellow in here, so hopefully I can get some progress on that one as well. So yes, that is it for today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you're excited about following along on my Pendant palette journey, as well as my Pendant eyeshadows and all the other things that I'm going to be doing in the next year. Thank you guys for watching. Bye bye.